finally found my voice. You know, it's good to be back in the Unity Village Chapel. I was thinking this week how many hundreds of hours that I and my late wife Faith spent on this platform and in this room with thousands of retreatants from all over the world when we were retreat directors here at Unity Village. And there was this is a very sacred place because I think of all of the transformations that took place in this room, all of the healings, all of the connections and friendships that were made in this room over all those years. And all of that is still right here. We're a part of that, and it's all a part of us. It's a part of unity. You know, when I woke up this morning, I felt like I was back in Sacramento, actually. The sun was shining, and it was rather, at least for Sacramento, it was cold, but here it's very warm. I'm not used to this kind of weather in Missouri in January, and I don't think many of you are either. But when I woke up this morning, I was really delighted because there was a quote in my mind from that wonderful classic book, A Tree Grows in Brooklyn. And the quote is, "Look at everything and everyone in your life as if you're seeing them for the very first or the very last time. And then your days on earth will be filled with glory." Ooh. Ooh. You know, it's a brand new year. We're not even 3 weeks into 2013. December 21st, 2012 came and went. We woke up the next morning, had our coffee, and went, okay, now what? Either that or it really was the rapture, and we were left behind. But that's okay with me, because some of the people that were claiming they were rapture-worthy, I found, I'd rather be hanging out with you folks here at Unity Village today. It's a brand new year, and I have a very, very good feeling about this year. And I'm not being Pollyannish, because I know this is going to be a year. I mean, already, we're not even 3 weeks into it. And look at all of the change that we're already experiencing, the upheaval that we're seeing in this year. It's going to be an amazing year for transformation for individuals, for our nation, for our world, and I believe for race consciousness. Our world right now is in the throes of a birth process. You feel it? We all feel it. We've been feeling this. This has been a long labor. You know, and we know that the birthing process, especially you women, it can be very painful, very messy, but something is struggling to be born, something brand new. This could be a good time. This could be a good time. When things really get bad and messy, it means that something greater is trying to emerge. Look back. This is in my lifetime, and many of your lifetimes, to the civil rights era. Difficult, painful, dangerous, messy, but fast forward to tomorrow, when we inaugurate the first African American president of the United States for the second time. Yes. Whoa. And we do it on the national holiday when we celebrate America's apostle of peace, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and civil rights worker. Coincidence? I think not. I believe in divine appointments, and this is a divine appointment. I love the new year because the new year offers us an opportunity to look back at was and take stock of where we are as a people and as a nation, and to decide if this is where I want to be a year from today. Do I want to be just experiencing more of the same a year from today? You know, some people are very fortunate to live 90 years or more. And unfortunately, too many people live the same 90 or the same 1 year over and over and over again. I don't want to be one of those people. This could be the year that you, that me, that we as individuals and we as a nation move on and move up. That's my intention, to move on and move up. It's up to us. We get to choose in any given situation how we're going to be, how we will show up in life. Here's what I know. 2013 will bring all kinds of experiences, some wonderful and pleasant, and some painful, and some disappointing, some confounding, and some heartbreaking. We just experienced that in Newtown, Connecticut. 20 innocents massacred. This may be a year of more destructive superstorms. It's going to be a year full, as every other year, of the good and the bad and the ugly. But no matter what happens in this new year, we each decide who we will be and how we will show up in life as individuals and as a society. One of the most formative truths that I learned in Unity is the only things in life over which we have total control, 100% control, are our thoughts and our attitudes. That's it. That's it. Everything else can be determined or influenced by outer circumstances, beyond our control. The weather, the stock market, it goes on and on and on. We have no control over those things, all beyond our ability to control. We can influence some of that, but the only thing we control is our inner life. And you know this because it's a basic unity principle. But there's knowing about something and agreeing with it. Oh, I agree with that. Oh, yeah, I believe that. But then there's knowing to the very core of our being, so that we live from that knowing, that we look at life through the lens of that knowing. When my late wife, Faith died this last Thursday, it'll be 5 years since she made her graduation. 5 years. She's been with me all this week, and really with me here, because we spent so much time in this room over the years. She was stricken with a rare, non-treatable neurological condition that affected her ability to organize thoughts. And all of the beautiful truth principles that we had learned and said we believed in and taught with such conviction came into sharp focus and question. I questioned everything that I had always claimed that I believed to be true and had taught with such conviction. It was a long, long, dark night of the soul for us. One of Unity's most transformative teachings is the law of mind action. Thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. Well, what happens when you can't hold a thought? When you can't hold that thought and focus that thought and direct that thought, because the mechanism, the instrument that directs it, is damaged. One day, in a moment of absolute clarity, Faith said to me, Michael, the very mechanism that I need to heal is the part of me that is damaged. Now, we know the mind and the brain are not the same thing, but we need the brain as that physical mechanism to direct the thoughts. And as I watched her slowly melt away each day, I was asked to know that I had a choice, even in the midst of my worst nightmare. That no matter what life presents, we have a choice, always. Dr. King knew this when faced with overwhelming evidence of separation and inequality as the generally accepted American way of life for black people. Life gives us so many opportunities to test our most cherished and defended beliefs. And that's why we are here, to prove the truth, to know the truth which ultimately sets us free. At Spiritual Life Center, our mission statement is to love, to serve, and to remember. And the chant that we sing each Sunday is, why have we come to earth? Do you remember? Why have we taken birth? Do you remember? It is to love, it is to serve, and it is to remember. Do you recall the story of the blind man in the Bible? Blind since birth. And he's brought to Jesus, and his disciples say, Rabbi, who sinned? This man, himself, or his parents? Who sinned? And Jesus answered, neither he nor his parents sinned. There's nobody at fault here. He was born blind so that the glory of God could be known in him. There was a higher purpose to his blindness. We are living at a very important and pivotal time in the evolution of human consciousness. Our world today is reflecting race consciousness, just as accepted segregation was the way of life here in the United States for hundreds of years, even though our founding document said all men are created equal. There is so much fear and uncertainty in the world today. You know, I keep hearing people say to me, God, if only I had enough faith. If only I had more faith, I wouldn't feel fear, and I wouldn't feel uncertainty, and I wouldn't feel doubt. Well, here's the truth that is difficult to hear. Doubt and fear never go away. They never go away. It's part of the human experience. And I know that some in Unity will call me a heretic. It's not the first time. But let's face it, there is no such thing as faith without fear or doubt. It doesn't exist unless that's there. Faith is when we are driven to delve deep into our spiritual selves to find the resilience and the courage to move forward in spite of it all. That's faith. Dr. King, Dr. Abernathy, all of the civil rights activists and freedom marchers, do you think they were not feeling fear? They felt fear every step of the way, all the time, but they moved forward anyway because it was the right thing to do. Dr. King said it's always the right time to do the right thing, but you must be prepared to accept the consequences. 1938, King George of England was addressing the English people on Christmas Eve. There was a monster named Adolf Hitler who had forgotten who he was, and his goal was to devour the world. And he was already active doing it. And he was heading for England next, and the English people knew it. And King George on Christmas Eve, 1938, gave an address where he quoted an American poet by the name of Minnie Louise Haskins. And I said to the man who stood at the gate of the year, give me a light that I may tread softly and safely into the unknown. And he replied, go out into the darkness and put your hand into the hand of God. That shall be safer to you and better than light and safer than a known way. And so I stepped into the darkness, and finding the hand of God, I was led up into the hills and to the dawning of a new day in the east. Faith is when you feel the doubt and the uncertainty or the fear, and you take that first trembling step into the unknown, into the darkness. The great metaphysician Emmett Fox, who did much of his writing right here at Unity Village, said one of my very favorite quotes, "Do it trembling if you must, but you must do it. Do it trembling if you must, but you must do it." The fear and the uncertainty never fully goes away. But we learn to trust more each time we take that next small, trembling step into the unknown. Dr. King knew fear. He said, our problem is not to be rid of fear, but rather to harness it for good. Normal fear protects us. Abnormal fear paralyzes us. Normal fear motivates us. Abnormal fear constantly poisons and distorts our inner selves. My friends, what makes you tremble? What would you do if you didn't allow fear and uncertainty to paralyze you? Dr. King and his small but growing band of freedom marchers awakened a national conscience. He knew fear. He knew that fear and faith walk hand in hand. The key to success is, where do we place our focus? On what's missing or what's not working, or on the hope and belief in a right and healthy outworking because it's the right thing to do? And since fear will not entirely go away, then we must learn to make friends with it. That radical rabbi, Jesus of Nazareth, felt fear many times. It's first recorded right after his awakening at the river of Jordan with John the Baptist. And he hears a voice, but it wasn't an outer voice. It was a voice from within him where he knew his oneness with God, that he was loved just as he was, that God was pleased, that he belonged to God. And Scripture says that right after that awareness, that he is led into the wilderness by the Spirit of truth to be tempted by the father of lies, the prince of deceit, Satan. Now, in Unity, we don't believe in a personification of evil. In New Thought, fear is the devil. That's the father of lies. The voice of fear is very seductive. You've heard it, haven't you? Man, I have. Who do you think you are? Who do you think you are? You're kidding yourself. You're not good enough. Don't trust anybody. We're doomed. It's never going to change. This is the way it is. Dr. King, don't you think he heard? Who do you think you are, you young upstart? Who do you think you are? We've all heard those voices spoken by others about us, or even worse, spoken internally by one of our own resident terrorist cells that lives inside. You know, the voice of fear is very, very seductive and very distinctive. It's always loud, persistent, brash, suspicious, demeaning, accusing, and threatening. But the voice of spirit is just the opposite. The voice of fear can be terrifying. Our ground shakes beneath us, and it seems so real, but the voice of spirit is a gentle whisper. In 1 Kings, the story of Elijah. All around Elijah, the Jewish people, the Hebrews, they were really messing up. They were really off track. They're worshiping Baal, and there's all kinds of debauchery going on. And it's not a good time to be a prophet. Is it ever a good time to be a prophet? And they're killing the prophets left and right. So Elijah runs for his life, and he goes up into the mountains, up to the mountain of God, Mount Horeb. And there he finds a cave for safety, and he hides in the cave, and he goes to sleep. And in the middle of the night, God wakes Elijah, says, Elijah, why are you here? Why are you here? And Elijah pours out his tale of woe. You're not going to believe what they are doing down there. What they're saying about you, what they're going to do to me. He tells his whole sad story about how dangerous and everything. Everybody, and God says, Elijah, go up to the mountaintop. Go as high as you can, to the very peak of the mountain. And Elijah went up there, and he listened for the voice of God. But all he could hear was chaos and fear and uncertainty all around him. And then Scripture says, a great mighty wind blew and tore at the mountains, breaking the rocks, but the Lord was not in the wind. And after the wind, a terrible earthquake shook the ground on which he stood. And after the earthquake, fire erupted all around him. But God was not in the earthquake or the wind or the fire. God spoke in a whisper, a still, small voice. Which voice do we most listen to? That threatening voice of accusation, fear, suspicion, gossip, or the still small voice that doesn't shout or demean or accuse, but instead encourages, heals, and inspires? It's always our choice. Right now, in our world, fear is sold for profit. It is a commodity. Nothing on earth is as saleable as fear right now. Our politicians sell it. Our religious leaders sell it. The military-industrial complex sells it. We are deeply invested in promoting and selling fear. Be very afraid. Trust no one. And arm yourselves, because the worst days are ahead. Thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. Thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. I believe that, and we're witnessing that right now. Don't give in to fear. I believe that the New Thought unity message of inclusiveness is more important today than at any other time in our history. The world needs unity. Small u unity and capital U unity. The world needs unity, and unity needs to step up and boldly step out. We are about unity, we are about possibility, we are about equality, fairness, justice. And like Dr. King, if we want anything to change, we must act boldly. The time for timidity is over. The voice of fear is very seductive, but I want to challenge all of us. I want to challenge our movement to listen to that whispering voice of Spirit that has guided unity in this ministry for over 124 years. Our message provides an antidote to the poison and negativity that has infected our society and our world. Dr. King knew that. The test of a true faith is, who do you choose to be as the fires rage and the winds howl and the very earth rocks and rolls beneath you? My prayer for unity and for Unity Village Chapel as we begin this next chapter in 2013 is for resilience. Resilience is the ability to work with adversity and uncertainty in such a way that you emerge unharmed or even better for the experience. You consciously create a new story of triumph of faith. Faith takes resilience as you face uncertainty with courage and commitment and trust, refusing to bow to fear. Resilience is rooted in the tenacity of spirit. Without faith, we can have no vision for a better tomorrow. Resilience in a community such as this is an awesome thing to behold, because our joys are more intense and our sorrows and our disappointments are shared. They're more bearable because we can lean on one another. I love what Mother Teresa said. She said, the reason that we have no peace on earth is because we have forgotten we belong to each other. We belong to each other. It was the resilience within Dr. King and the civil rights activists that broke that endless nightmare of degradation and segregation in a society that claimed that all men and women are created equal. He actually believed it, and he died for it. This is the time to show our stuff, to resolve to step up, to step in, become more a part of this community and this movement than ever before, and move forward as a community. The world needs this vision and attitude. Tomorrow, as we honor Dr. King and we celebrate the inauguration of America's first mixed-race president, make the commitment to rededicate yourself to the mission and purpose of this transformative unity message. My friends, let's band together. Keep the faith, because I believe that our best days as a spiritual movement can be ahead of us. And as a nation, our best days can be ahead of us if we never, ever give up the dream. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "Do not give up hope. If you lose hope, somehow you lose the vitality that keeps life moving. You lose that courage that helps you go on in spite of it all." I can't wait to see what wonders unfold in the new chapter for this unity movement and this new world that is struggling to be born. God bless you all. Thank you for letting me be here today, and I'm excited about 2013. And tomorrow, let's really celebrate the dream that Dr. King infected us with. God bless you all.
Thank you, Michael.